What's going on, everybody? You have Tone here, back with some more Draft League content, this time bringing you guys my team builder and battle for week 1 of season 4 of the UBA, where we kick off our first ever Uber's Draft League, taking on Miso and his Murfreesboro Blazikens. If you guys missed my draft analysis, I'll leave a link in the description down below so you can check out the mons I drafted, why I drafted them, all that stuff. But as you can see, if you want a synopsis of the team, you can just see the 12 mons that I ended up picking up for my first Uber's Draft League, and I'm pretty excited to kick off the season, hopefully try to get a win in my first Uber Draft League game. So it's kind of a learning curve, especially considering how long I've been doing it. I've been playing Draft League, and this is my first ever Uber's Draft ever, so hopefully I can start off on the right foot. But nonetheless, I'm just going to try to have some fun with this team. So as I mentioned, I'm taking on Miso and his Murfreesboro Blazikens, and his team consists of the Eternatus, Mega Scizor, Landorus Incarnate, Breloom, Raikou, Primarina, Mamoswine, Arcanine, Umbreon, Mesprit, Girder, and Zapdos. So very really solid team. His first 3 Pokemon are like the biggest threats. Eternatus, after I didn't even know what Eternatus's original stats were, but yeah, this thing it hits extremely hard. It's deceptively fast, base 130, and it's exceptionally hard. Like, it only needs dual stab and coverage for steel types, and it does get that with flamethrower. So yeah, Eternatus is going to be a big threat. Mega Scizor getting a buff, not really in the sense of stats, but in the sense of with the fact that hidden power is no longer a thing unless you have a fire type, or you have a Pokemon with fire type coverage. Mega Scizor is going to be a huge threat for any team. Same thing as well with the Landorus Incarnate, really paired up well just to have that extra option to break past those steel types that Mega Scizor can bait in and U-turn out to. So yeah, very solid offensive core. And then on top of that, he has some other threats too. The Primarina, the Mamoswine is always a threat regardless of the format. Great defensive mons. Arcanine can be a problem, especially with the addition of heavy duty boots. Umbreon can be a little bit annoying, although a little bit less so in my case because I do have ways of dealing with the Umbreon. And then Zapdos is always a great defensive mon in general. So a very difficult matchup just right off the bat, because its offensive threats are so annoying for my team. But I do feel comfortable with the team I ended up building for this week, and it's pretty much centralized of a late game sweep with the first Pokemon you see on your screen. So kicking off the team, I do have a Modest Choice Scarf Nidoking with Sludge Wave, Earth Power, Flamethrower, and Ice Beam. This entire team was built around the fact of trying to get a late game sweep going with this Nidoking set. The combination of these 4 moves hits his entire team neutrally. And the mindset is to try to at least win in the end game with clicking either Sludge Wave or Earth Power, whichever I am able to get rid of. I'm able to get rid of the Mega Scizor and chip down stuff like the Landorus, the Eternatus. For the most part, I can spam Sludge Wave, and to a lesser extent Mamoswine if he does bring his double ground. Earth Power is a little bit more freer if I'm able to get rid of the Landorus and the Zapdos. And if he does bring the Umbreon, I need to get that thing chipped down, as a specially defensive Umbreon can easily tank 2 hits from a Nidoking. So that's pretty much the idea behind this Nidoking set. This is my primary win con. If I'm able to chip down his defensive mons, get everything else into range where I can just click one of these 4 moves, then this Nidoking can potentially win. Flamethrower mainly just there for the Mega Scizor. Ice Beam is there for the Landorus Incarnate, but everything else is pretty straightforward. Max special attack with a modest nature, with enough speed to guarantee that my Nidoking will outspeed a max speed Eternatus with my Choice Scarf. So that is the Nidoking, and now to support the potential of a Choice Scarf Nidoking sweep, everything else is kind of supportive in a sense regarding my Nidoking set. So the next mon here is the Magearna, and the Magearna set here is more designed to be a pivot around his special attackers for the most part. As you see, it's an Assault Vest set with Floor Cannon, Flash Cannon, Ice Beam, and Volt Switch, and basically the idea is to come in and check stuff like Primarina, check stuff like Raikou. Most of his special attackers can be checked by this Magearna set, and these 4 moves are really all I need in terms of just hitting his team incredibly hard. Floor Cannon is pretty good, strong stab option. Flash Cannon is mainly just there to guarantee I can knock out the Mamoswine if he does decide to bring that in and be a bit more aggressive. Ice Beam lets me deal with the Landorus, and Volt Switch is there for momentum purposes. And the nice thing about Volt Switch with this Magearna is because of the fact that I know that my opponent has to respect that I can easily click Flash Cannon if he brings Mamoswine in, or Ice Beam if he brings the Landorus in. As Landorus, even Sheer Force, Modest Life Orb, Earth Power does not take out my Magearna unless he is at like 60%. And if he tries to be aggressive and goes into his Scizor, since there's no hidden power fire, he can just freely bring that in. I can Volt Switch out on the incoming Mega Scizor into any one of my other mons that I so choose. So that's pretty much the idea behind the Magearna set. The EVs with the HP and the special defense investment, I am not too KO'd by Modest Choice Specs Primarina's Hydro Pump after Stealth Rock. And the rest I just threw into special attack with a modest nature to boost the power of its moves, and I am also running 20 IVs in speed to guarantee that I am slower than uninvested Primarina, so my Magearna can take the extra hit from Primarina if it needs to, and Volt Switch out and then get one of my other mons in safely. So that's pretty much the idea behind that speed IV investment. And then next up is my Manaphy, very bulky Tail Glow 3 attack set with Scald, Ice Beam, and Energy Ball as my coverage moves. This pretty much hits his entire team neutrally. Same thing with my first 2 mons, but this just gives me a way of breaking through his defensive mons. Stuff like the Arcanine, Spadef Umbreon can get 2 KO'd by Scald after a Tail Glow, so that's pretty cool. Ice Beam again for the Eternatus mainly in this case, and Energy Ball is just so a potential Calm Mind Primarina can't set up and wall me indefinitely. So that's pretty much the idea behind this set. Just a very straightforward bulky Manaphy, allowing me to check stuff like the Mamoswine a little bit easier, while still outspeeding stuff like a max speed Jolly Arcanine, and then I threw the rest into special attack. Then next up is my Choice Banded Zamazenta with Close Combat, Ice Fang, Psychic Fangs, and Crunch. And this set I kind of went back and forth on just because of the fact that I dabbled with a sub 3 attack set, but I really didn't like the fact that I was unable to hit Mesprit because this set did not have Crunch on it. I then tried a Howl 3 attack set to boost the power of Zamazenta's attacks because this thing Swords Dance, which I didn't realize when I put this team together, so that was a little bit annoying. So I just figured just go Choice Band, try to hit everything as hard as I possibly can. These 4 moves hit the entire team pretty doggone hard. Close Combat for General Stab. Ice Fang allows me to a KO the Zapdos, I believe. If it's physically defensive and not heavy duty boots, I 2 a KO it with Ice Fang. Psychic Fangs is there for the Eternatus, and Crunch is there for stuff like Mesprit. And Psychic Fangs also hits the Girder as well. So just a very straightforward Choice Banded set, max attack, enough speed for Eternatus, and the rest is thrown into HP. Then I have my Mega Aerodactyl with Stealth Rock, Stone Edge, Earthquake, and Taunt. A bulky rocker, my stealth rocker for the team. I feel like rocks are just going to be important to chip away at his team, even though I know that if not one but both of either the Arcanine or the Zapdos will be heavy duty boots. I do not have knockoff on my Mew, spoiler, so the idea with my Aerodactyl was just try to pressure the rest of his team, get up rocks, Edgequake hits his entire team neutrally, and Taunt is mainly just there to prevent stuff like the Umbreon for going for Wish, for Toxics, whatever the case may be. And this gives me a bulkier check to stuff like the Landorus, as Landorus can't Earth Power me because I'm a flying type, unless he brings Gravity on his Landorus, and that could be a little bit annoying in that regard. But yeah, other than that though, it's a very straightforward stealth rocking Aerodactyl designed to pressure his team. So max HP, enough speed, freeze, Tornadus, rest thrown into attack. And then the last mon you see, we have a Expert Belt 4 attacks Mew with Flame Charge, Close Combat, Wild Charge, and Ice Punch. And quite honestly, this was kind of the Mew that I was kind of not concerned about, but there were so many variations of this Mew that I wanted to bring to this game, because I just felt that there weren't enough move slots. For a mon that gets access to almost every move, you think you would want more slots, and quite honestly, I wish I had more slots for this Mew, because I wanted to bring fire coverage for the Scizor, fighting coverage for the Mew, Ice Punch for the Eternatus, Wild Charge hits the Primarina specifically. I also wanted to bring like ground coverage or water coverage, which also hits the Arcanine super effectively. I wanted to bring Leech Life, I wanted to bring Psychic coverage, like the ultimate 4-move slot Syndrome mon, and this was the one set I did not feel very comfortable with at the end, but I figured, you know what, just go along with it. It's week 1. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's pretty much how I felt about the whole situation. But I felt like these 4 moves gave me the best coverage against his entire team for the most part. The idea is to get my Mew in on something like the Mega Scizor, and as he switches out into something else, I can Flame Charge, increase my speed, and after a speed boost, I am able to outspeed everything up to a potential Choice Scarf Mamoswine, which is the benchmark I hit with my Mew. And then I can close combat that thing. Close combat also lets me deal with the Umbreon as well. Wild Charge is specifically just there for the Primarina, and Ice Punch deals with the Eternatus, the Landorus, the Zapdos, all that stuff. And then Expert Belt I just threw on there just to boost the power of my super effective hits, since I figured if anything wants to come in, I would want to hit them super effectively. Granted, this has no way of dealing with hitting stuff like Girder super effectively, the Mesprit, the Raikou, or the Arcanine. I cannot hit super effectively with any of these moves. So yeah, this was a very, very difficult Mew set to put together. But again, it's week 1. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I'm just trying to have some fun with this team. And that's pretty much a bottom line at this point in time. So anyway, that is the team builder for this part. And then without further ado, let's just switch right over to the battle and see how we fared. Alright guys, so here we are with the battle against Miso and his Murfreesboro Blazikens, and as you can see, he brought all the threats. He brought the Landorus Incarnate, the Eternatus, Mega Scizor, Zapdos, Arcanine, and the Umbreon. Umbreon I was kind of hoping he wouldn't bring. I thought the ability of me having a Magearna, a Zamazenta, a Scolipede, a Mew that could bring coverage for the Umbreon, and even Obstagoon to a lesser extent could pressure the Umbreon enough to the point where I felt like he wouldn't bring it. But I guess he felt that if he didn't bring the Umbreon, that my special attackers would become a lot more problematic, as just looking at it from a preview standpoint, he did struggle a little bit switching into Tailglow Manaphy, which I do not blame him one bit for in that regards. But nonetheless, though, he did bring most of the mons I expected in this matchup. So in terms of a lead, in my case, I felt the best lead for me was going to be my Mega Aerodactyl. It matched up pretty well against most of his potential leads. If he leads off with something like Zapdos, I could probably exchange damage on the Aerodactyl for my, damage on the Zapdos in exchange for it not potentially discharge parrying my Aerodactyl, and if he goes out into Umbreon afterwards, I am packing the taunt so he cannot wish up and try to heal himself or any of his team members. So that was pretty much the idea behind this set. So without further ado, let's just jump right into the matchup. So as I mentioned, I am just going to lead off with my Aerodactyl because I felt comfortable leading it against like roughly half his team. So as you're going to see, I'm going to lead off with the Aerodactyl, and he is going to end up leading off with the Landorus. So I guess he expected a potential lead Nidoking on my side. I don't know about Nidoking, but Landorus did pressure most of the team that I brought pretty well because my Earth Power response is literally my lead, and I felt that if he did lead off with this, there's no hidden power ice or like he could also be like a sheer force rock slide set, but I can definitely take a sheer force rock slide no problem. And granted, I just felt comfortable just getting, I think I went either for the Stone Edge or I got up my rocks turn 1. I'm not entirely sure. It's been a while. So he goes out into his Umbreons. I just go for the I Mega Evolve and go for Stone Edge. Okay, yeah, like I said, it's been a few days since I played this game, so I don't really remember all the moves that I went for right away. So I'm just going to Stone Edge right away, get some damage on the Landorus. Just on the off chance the Landorus ended up being like a Yachi Berry variant for not even Manphy, for like revenge killing either my Nidoking or my other Ice Beam Magearna, stuff like that. I wanted to get some damage off on it just to ensure that even if he activates the Yachi Berry, I can knock it out through it with the Ice Beam. So I am just going to go for the Stone Edge, get some damage off on the incoming Umbreon. And I don't know if this was a physically defensive Umbreon, but it definitely had it has some bulk on the physical side, but granted, I am not a max attack Mega Aerodactyl in this game, so 30% seemed about right in this in the sense that in sense of the damage. I don't know if it was a mid-roll, high roll, or whatever the case may be, but I am just going to now go for the taunt to prevent this thing from going for like a toxic or a wish, whatever the case may be. Anyway. Revealing the leftovers, I am now going to click the taunt this turn. Yeah, so I taunt him as he ends up going, as he tries to go for the wish, so I prevent that, which is really, really good. But here I make a bit of a misplay, and I am actually going to get up my rocks this turn as he's going to go for the foul play. Now, granted, rocks would have helped me. It helps in the sense of chipping down the Zapdos and the Arcanine, but if both of them were heavy-duty boots, neither, like, that play made no sense, and he's going to actually catch me doubling into my Magearna as he goes out into his Arcanine. And then I'm going to pull the switch back into my Aerodactyl as he catches me again and kicks the Toxic, so good play on his part. So now my Aerodactyl is badly poisoned, which is not really good. Now he goes back out into his Umbreon, as I am going to go for the Stone Edge again and do about 31%. But yeah, this was a really bad sequence of plays by my part, as he's now going to go for the Protect here, get some extra poison damage off on me. Granted, I could have just gone back out into my Magearna, or my Zamazenta for that matter, but I'm actually just gonna taunt again as he's going to get the double protect, try to go for the double protect and not get it. So I'm gonna taunt, and I'm gonna end up my Aerodactyl is gonna end up dropping to the Toxic. And granted, that was not the best turn of events for for the game as a whole, just because of the fact that I let Aerodactyl go down way too early when I still needed Aerodactyl to check the Arcanine. Granted, I also could have just been a bit more aggressive that turn and gone out into something like my Mew, because just looking at the matchup, Mew did some work, but not enough to the point where it was actually a threat. So I could have just made the aggressive play into Mew on the Toxic instead of letting my Aerodactyl get Toxic, because if he clicked Will-O-Wisp or something like that, then it didn't matter in the end. So So yeah, my Aerodactyl goes down here. I go out into my Magearna. He is going to go out into the Scizor on my incoming Magearna, and this allows me to get off a free Volt Switch. Yeah, so I Volt Switch here because I knew he wouldn't try to go Landers on a full HP Magearna. So I'm gonna get my Zamazenta in on this Scizor, and if he's not max HP, max defense, he's not going to take the close combat, but he goes on into his Zapdos, revealing he is heavy duty boots. As I close combat, I do 32. I go back into my Magearna. He is going to roost off the damage my Zamazenta did, and now he is going to Volt Switch himself. Gets a crit, it doesn't really matter. Goes back out into his Scizor, take the Stealth Rock damage. I'm going to Volt Switch again because I know for a fact he's not going to go Landers because he still cannot kill me from this range. I go back into Zamazenta one more time. And I already got this Mega Scizor pretty doggone low. Back out comes the Zapdos. I'm just going to CC again. Granted, I could have predicted and gone for the Ice Fang, but didn't really feel the need to try to make any early game predictions. As I go back into my Magearna, he is going to Volt Switch this time on my incoming Magearna. Gets in the Arcanine again on my Magearna, and now he is going to go for the Toxic, I believe, on my incoming Manaphy. Yeah. So yeah, he gets he gets me again with the Arcanine play as he Toxics my Manaphy, which is fine. I'm just going to Tail Glow here because I know even if he Wild Charges, he's not going to take the he doesn't want to take the initial hit, so he goes and makes the aggressive play into Eternatus on my Tail Glow, makes the double out into his Umbreon. I guess he expected me to go for the Skull, that's explained. So I own an Ice Beam here. I end up freezing him, which actually kind of sucks for him because he would have been able to stall out a few more turns of toxic damage by going for Protect here. And now he's going to go for the Protect this turn and try to thaw out. Unfortunately, he does not. And my Manaphy is just going to go. I'm going to go for the Skull to knock out the Umbreon here. So he didn't really need Umbreon at this point because of the toxic damage. I'm now guaranteed in range of a potential Choice Specs Dynamax Cannon from this Eternatus. And granted, I could have gone out into my Magearna. I decided to just see if he was like a Specs variant. He ends up being a Life Orb variant of the Manaphy. So I'm going to go out into my Magearna now after I let my Manaphy drop here. He's going to go out into the Arcanine. I believe I go for an Ice Beam here. Yeah, I go for an Ice Beam. I could have just Volt Switched again on the Arcanine. So I go into my Mew this time, and this time he's actually going to teleport. So yeah, I could have Volt Switched. In comes the Landorus. I am now going to go for the Ice Punch, I believe, as he U-turns out, revealing he's Life Orb on this as well. He goes out into his Mega Scizor, as I'm going to click the Ice Punch this turn. I don't knock him out, but thankfully it allows me to Flame Charge, as he's just going to Bullet Punch and get some more damage on my Mew before knocking out my before I knock out his Mega Scizor. So down goes the Scizor, which wasn't really the biggest threat to my team. Back out comes the Arcanine, and here's where I really wish I had like Earth Power or whatnot as my strongest move. It's close combat. Granted, I could have Wild Charged there, but it didn't really matter in the end, as my Mew's gonna drop to the Flare Blitz from the Arcanine. And now here I go out into my Zamazenta, figuring to try to close combat, but I'm going to try to predict now the incoming Zapdos, as I do catch the Zapdos with the Ice Fang. Does 48%, so it probably wouldn't have been a 2 KO if he was at full HP. I make the double into Magearna, as he's actually going to double back out into his Arcanine, trying to take the Ice Fang. And now here I'm just going to sack off my Magearna to the Flare Blitz. So essentially just trying to keep this thing low enough to the point where I can then essentially just try to keep this thing low enough to the point where I can still close combat. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to close combat the incoming Zapdos, knock that thing out, but I'm still on the back foot here because of the fact that that Arcanine is still around. He goes out into his Eternatus, and I believe he is just going to go for the, I think he's going to recover once or twice on my close combat. or he just goes straight for the Dynamax cannon. I don't know which one he does first. Yeah, he's gonna recover here. I could have been aggressive and gone out into Nidoking on the recover, but the thing is, if I didn't get any damage off on him, I don't kill him with Ice Beam. I still had the Arcanine in the back, so he's just going to Dynamax Cannon, knock out my Zamazenta, and all I have left now is my Choice Scarf Nidoking. So basically, I have to lock myself on the Ice Beam. He's going to sack off his Eternatus to the Ice Beam here. And now, and basically it comes down to whether or not I think I have to, like the game's already over, because even a crit Ice Beam won't knock out Arcanine from 40%, and because he was heavy duty boots, obviously it didn't end up mattering in the end. So unfortunately, I am going to lose this game 2-0 to Miso and his Murfreesboro Mudsdales, as he's just going to Flare Blitz, and then he's going to Morning Sun one more time to ensure that he's out of a range of a crit, and it saves himself. He saves himself point of differential. And so yeah, that's how the first week of the season goes for us. We're going to unfortunately lose 2-0. Granted, Miso played extremely well, catching me a bunch of times with the Arcanine. Catching me twice. Actually, he caught me 3 times on 2 Toxics and the Teleport on my incoming Magearna. I should have played a lot more aggressively. I also, granted, I should not have. Like, one of the biggest misplays for me was sacking my Aerodactyl so early on in the game. Like, Aerodactyl actually did a lot of work, especially considering that chipping down the Mega Scizor was not that difficult to do for my team, and granted, I needed Aerodactyl for this. I also should not have prioritized getting up my rocks so early, because Heavy Duty Boost was just so obvious of an item to bring on 2 Mons that gets reliable recovery, so I could have just been more aggressive in the sense of just staying in and attacking walls in front of me, and I lost nothing by doing that. But unfortunately, I did not do that. I played a bit too passively. I got predicted a lot of times, and the end result is me losing. And it sucks even more because of the fact that I let the Arcanine get 4 kills in this game, when technically I probably could have gotten like 1 or 2, but 4. It was just basically a bad playing on my part, and there's really no excuse for that. But then again, like I said, it's week 1. It's not the end of the world. GG to Miso. He played extremely well with his Arcanine. He preserved what he needed in the end game, and that's all there really is to it. Like, the bottom line is I lost. There's no sugarcoating it. There's no beating around the bush. I just straight up lost this game. It was still a close game regardless of the fact that I felt like I could have played a lot better with a few of my Pokemon. But nonetheless, though, we start off the season 0-1. I'm not gonna really wrap my head around about what I could have done differently in this matchup. It is what it is. Also, guys, let me know if you what you think about the me using my layout for Wi-Fi games. Like, if you prefer this sort of like outline in terms of using it for my battles and whatnot. Let me know if you like me using this layout, the sprites, or all that stuff, or if you feel like it's a bit too unnecessary. I just feel like I usually use the layout itself for like Wi-Fi battles, and considering how Wi-Fi leagues are in the long run, with a lack of a 60-minute timer, no versus recorder, and I don't have access to an Elgato, and my computer is not really the best in terms of processing, let alone recording, which explains why the video itself might be a bit lower quality than the ones I've done in the past. Yeah, if you think I don't need it, then just let me know. But it is what it is. I'm not gonna, I don't know, let's not drag this video out too long. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. And that's gonna be from me. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We will hopefully bounce back week number 2. It's gonna be another exciting matchup to be sure. And until the next time, this is Tone, signing out for now. Peace out.